Wow, it has been a very eventful evening, and the discussions have been mind blowing. I want to welcome everybody back again to plenary, and I hope we all had very useful discussions. I really enjoyed myself because I learned a lot. Sometimes we are guilty of some of the things that we are discussed at the plenaries, at the discussion sessions where you get videos and then you keep sharing without verifying the information. Then you keep causing a lot of chaos in the society. So this forum has been very, very educative. So now I am going to invite Mr. Bentu to give us a summary of their session. And then he's here with me on the stage. Mr. Bentu, so let's hand over to
Thank you very
you and
much.
tell us what are the takeaways.
Well, I gave, so I'm wondering what takeaways I can have. But I think basically the most important thing to take out of this is that we are in a battle for hearts and minds. And that battle is being fought on every platform, including on social media. The era where we even look at mainstream media and then we say, oh, there's social media, mainstream media, the lines have been blurred. Right now, social media is mainstream media. They're all one and the same. So whatever it is that we're doing as far as communication is concerned, we do have to take that in mind and realize that the world is dynamic, that young people are thinking very differently than we are. They're consuming information differently than we have. And therefore, we have to adjust how we give out our messages and how we communicate to that generation. I think in a nutshell, this is what we're trying to say. How do we find those strategies to effectively communicate and counter these harmful narratives before they start?
But those strategies, of course, they should be found somewhere.
Obviously.
Somewhere. So now I'm aware that there are some communication tools that one can use to verify the authenticity of a video or message. So can you throw more light on that?
Well, actually, there are quite a number of tools. I'm not a tech expert by any means, but I do know that there are even basic apps that you can use on the internet that can tell you, for instance, how long ago a photograph was taken. And one of the very common things that are done in order to spread fake news is you take a picture out of context, and then you slap it on a story, and then people believe it because they've seen the imagery. And going back to how I was talking about people consuming information, a lot of us who are a little bit older, we consume a lot of text, but with young people, imagery is very important. And the people who spread harmful narratives have understood that, and so they use imagery a lot. So there are apps where you can actually use the picture and find its original source, where it was taken, how it was taken. There's a metadata of the picture attached where you can trace it all the way back to its original. And very often you'll find that those pictures existed long before the story that they are attached to, they were taken long before that. There is also, right now we live in the world of deepfake, as Shamsuddin pointed out, and deepfakes, it's a very frightening era because right now they can take your face and do anything with it and it will look very real and very convincing. But the interesting thing about technology is once a picture has been tampered with, it is actually very possible for experts to study it and actually know that. And so these things apply. But beyond that, I don't think it's just about the existence of these apps because they always have existed. It's about how willing people are to use them. What we need to do is to build that culture of critical thinking and build as many people who would say, who we can teach to say, okay, I have my trusted news sources. If I see something on such and such a channel, then I know it's news. But if I see something from a news source that I don't really know, then maybe I want to verify before I begin to spread. And no, posting something or sharing it on your Facebook page with a tagline, "Is this true?" does not count. You have to put in the work. You have to go and verify that it's true, because nobody will even look at your tagline. What you're doing when you do that is you're helping to spread that harmful narrative. So it's that we have to teach people to be more inquisitive and more critical about what they see, to trust sources that have that credibility, to understand where these credible sources are. And if they see stories coming from sources that they don't know or they cannot verify, then they have to look closer. Then they have to be less trusting of that kind of information. So that's the challenge, and that's why earlier I referenced that it's a battle for hearts and minds, more than a battle for technology.
Thank you very much. That's been very insightful. So now, you see, there is a conflict between the government trying to control the use of the internet or social media in some societies, because there's the need for that, obviously. So now, how do you think this can be balanced without freedom of information be tampered with?
I think that's one of the things that we touched on during that session. And it's one of the more disturbing things. Personally, what I find more disturbing, particularly in West Africa, is that there is an eagerness on the part of government to regulate and less eagerness to educate. Now, when there is an eagerness to regulate and less eagerness to educate, then you begin to become suspicious of exactly what the motives are, because education is a more useful tool than regulation. If people have the right mindset, it's just like keeping a house clean. First of all, you have to teach the children how to clean up after themselves. If you've not taught them how to clean up after themselves, there is no amount of whipping that you may want to apply on them that is going to make them do it at an older age. And they may do it under your watch, but what are they going to do when they leave your house? So I think that regulation, in whatever form it may come, has to go with education, and there has to be just as much eagerness and energy invested into that. That is on the one part. And one of the dangers, as I mentioned earlier, with regulation, especially on the part of governments, is where does it end? And what exactly is it that constitutes a breaking of the law? We don't even have a clear decision. For example, I mentioned the social media bill here in Nigeria. It did not even have a clear example of what hate speech is. And if you don't have a clear example of that, it means that hate speech becomes arbitrary. It becomes what I decide that it is. And that is very dangerous. So if at all there's going to be any kind of regulation, then it has to be very specific on its definitions of where is it that a citizen crosses the line. And this is why some people say that there are enough regulations as far as if it's defamation or if it's as far as speech that causes damage, that there are laws that cover those areas, and you can prosecute people under those laws if you are willing to apply yourself and to do so. So it's a very tricky thing.
Yes,
I'm not excited about government regulation, but if at all there is to be any kind of regulation, then the people have to be a part, an organic part of how those laws are created. It has to be generally acceptable.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It has been a very fruitful evening. And at this point, I will want to invite Miss Fakriya Hassim, if she's still online, to give us a summary of what their session was all about.
We seem to have, we don't have any representative from our room 2. None of the speakers is currently available to go on stage at this time.
Okay, so we'll move on from there, but I was able to pick 1 or 2 things from their discussions while they were talking about the UN Resolution 1325. And then some of the negative impacts of COVID-19 on women and girls, the increase in violence and women losing their voices to hatred and all sorts of violence. So, but since they are not here to give us a summary of what they were able to discuss, at this point, I want to thank everyone for your active participation on this forum. It has been very, very engaging outing today, and all the speakers did excellently well in justifying the topics. I learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone here did too. So I invite you to an open networking space for the next 30 minutes. You will be in that space and you'll be able to network with each other. So now we will have this session again tomorrow and at 10 a.m. West African time. And but before I sign out, we will play you a video on actually when this whole session all began. And that was a video, the planning workshop on this WAPSI forum, which was held in 2020. So I think with that video, I'm going to sign out and hoping to meet you again tomorrow at 10 a.m. when we will continue our discussions. Thank you, and continue with the networking mode.
Thanks everyone for attending today's event. So before we end the day, we have the floor for the networking session. So we'll bring you back to the networking session mode after this. And to move around the table, all you need to do is double click on any of the available seats, and you can start talking with the other attendees in the event. Please make sure that your camera and microphone are turned on, as it is best experience if you have them on. And how to turn on your camera and microphone, you will find it at the lower part of your screen. Make sure that it's green, then that means your camera and your microphone is turned on. Also, we just want to inform you that tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. West Africa time, we will have the room open for you to start again networking with the other attendees in the event. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and we'll see you again tomorrow.